These are the assembly instructions to my Santa's Workshop explosion box. So there are many pieces to this file, but it's relatively easy to assemble if you do it one section at a time. So I'm going to start with this piece. It's sort of like a plus sign, and I'm holding down on the center score lines that create a square in the center. I have panels for the interior of my box and panels for the exterior of my box, and the only difference between them, other than color, there are score lines on the ones for the exterior of my box, and they're there for placement of my embellishments. So for the interior of my box, these are plain. I'm going to glue each one of these down to those flaps that surround that square. So these pieces are taller than they are wide. If it's wider, like this, you've got it in the wrong direction. So you want to make sure that the corners of your panel match up with the corners of this square that's scored in the center. So I'm just putting glue all over this panel. I'm just matching up those corners, and I want this piece to be right up against that score line. And I'm going to do the same thing with all 4 of my red panels. Now that I've decorated the interior of my box, I'm going to start by gluing all my embellishment pieces together first. I've cut the window frames out of glitter cardstock. Each one of these windows has a yellow backing. I have 4 of these larger sized arched windows and 1 smaller one. So I'm just putting glue on the back of the frame and just gluing my yellow backing like so. And I'm going to do that for all of my windows. So now I'm taking a look at my 4 brown panels. And I have 2 of them that have rectangles scored on them. My rectangular windows fit within those score lines. So I'm just going to glue those down, making sure that they're within the score lines. And then I'm gluing down the little ledge at the bottom. There are score lines for them as well. And then there's the piece with my front door on it. I can see the arch. So I'm putting glue on the back of the largest of the piece, and it fits exactly within the score line. My little threshold. I've cut the door out of foil craft board. And my threshold is more of that glitter cardstock in the green. And then my door is red foil craft board. I'm putting it flush against that bottom piece. So horizontally, I'm trying to get it centered as best I can. So I have all the larger windows, and then I have one that's a little bit smaller, and it goes in the middle of my door. And then I'm going to take 2 of those arched windows, 1 for each side of my door, and my little rectangles that go below. So that's my front panel done. And then there is my back panel with that curved window. And so I have 2 more windows, so we're going to keep them for later. So I'm back to my base piece. This is the inside of the box, and this is the outside. The bottom of each panel is towards the center of that center rectangle, like so. I'm making sure that my rectangular windows are across from one another, and I'm making sure that my curved window and my front door are across from one another. I'm just putting glue on the underside of the decorated panel, and I'm just matching it up with my red panel. I want the 3 sides to be flush and the bottom to be right up against that score line. And I'm going to do that with all 4 panels. So now that I've decorated the outside of my box, I'm going to decorate the inside. So I have these white panels that I'm layering on top of my red, and I've got a square for the center, but we're not putting that one down right away. So I'm just going to glue all 4 of these down, trying to keep an even border all the way around. So now that those panels are glued down, I'm going to work on the center platform. And I'm just folding down on all the score lines. Next, I'm going to put glue on the side tab, the score line to the edge of my tab. And then I am folding my right side over, and I want the cut edge to meet up with my score line. And I want the score lines at the top and at the bottom to be even. I should be able to lay it flat like so. I'm looking for my seam. My seam is here. So I want these flaps to go down first. I'm putting glue on those side tabs, and then I'm folding that flap down. And I want to make sure that the cut edge of the flap is right against the score line of my box. And that will ensure that I have a nice square box. And then I'm putting glue on that other flap, and I want those edges to be nice and flush. Go in from the other side with my bone folder and just spread that glue. So my seam is on the bottom, and the cut edge of my flap is on the bottom as well. So it makes a nice finished edge on the top of my box. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Putting glue on my 2 flaps. I have my seam at the bottom. I'm bringing the bottom panel down, then I'm putting glue, bringing my side down, making sure that the edges are nice and flush. This box fits in the center of my explosion box. So next I'm going to make the gift card holders. I have 3 green ones for the elves and 1 red one for Santa. I'm just folding down on all the score lines. My sides are angled a little like a Christmas tree, and I'm putting glue on the top tab and gluing it down. And then I'm putting glue on the side tabs, folding them over and gluing them down. And then I'm folding the left side over and I'm putting glue on that bottom tab and then folding it upwards. And then I'm putting glue on top of that tab and folding my right side over. And then I have my belt piece. Now for my belt, I cut out black 80-pound cardstock, but I really like the idea of having a shiny belt. I also cut out a shiny piece of vinyl. I'm just going to adhere my vinyl to my cardstock. And then I'm folding down on the score lines, starting from the bottom, and then bringing it upwards, and then going over and threading it down into that slit, and then centering it as best I can. So this piece is going to go here, like so. I'm going to flip my piece over and holding everything in place. I'm just putting glue and then folding them over like so. I've already done 2, but there are 4 of these, and all 4 go together the same way. The only difference is there's a red one for the Santa. So now that I've glued down my gift card holders, I have these embellishments that I've cut out of holographic sparkle vinyl and just applying it. And then I'm just applying another one on the other side like so. And I'm going to go around my entire box doing the same thing on both sides of my gift card holders. So now we're going to assemble Santa's sleigh. So I have more of the holographic sparkle vinyl, and I'm going to take 2 of these pieces so they're mirror images of one another, and I'm going to apply the sparkle vinyl. I have 2 layers of my sled. Now in the original file I only had 1 layer. Each one of these shapes gets glued to an identical layer just to make it sturdier. So this piece is the base of Santa's sled. So I'm just folding down on all the score lines. So I'm just starting with the little tabs on either side here, and I am folding my piece upwards, tucking my tab under and bringing the side up like so. And I'm doing that on both sides. And then I'm going to do that on these 2 tabs as well. I'm tucking them under those long side pieces. If you notice, it's at a little angle. I'm doing that on both sides. So now I have these flaps on the outside. I'm putting glue all over those flaps and then turning them inwards towards the inside. And I'm just going in with my bone folder and spreading all that glue. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with all 4 of those flaps. So this is the box for Santa's sleigh. So I'm putting glue all over the long side, and then I'm going to take my Santa sleigh piece with the back on my right hand side, same as the angle. I'm just going to place it on top. I want to make sure that the bottom is hidden by the shape of the sleigh. You should have a little overlap here and a little rounded overlap there. So next I'm going to glue the other side on top. So I put glue all along the long side, and the box is nicely hidden behind my image. So my sleigh is going to be adhered to that white panel in the center. I'm going to decorate the corners with some more of that holographic sparkle vinyl. And then I have this little white rectangle with score lines on it. I'm just going to fold down on the score lines. So I'm going to choose one of them, it doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to go from the score line to the edge, putting glue all over that piece. And I'm going to place it on my sleigh. The score line is even with the edge of the bottom of my sleigh, and the white part is hidden by that solid piece in the center of my sleigh like so. Skip the middle section and put glue from the score line to the edge of the other end of it and glue it on the other side of my sleigh. I want that score line to be right up against the edge of the bottom of my sleigh. So I'm putting glue all over that white center panel. I'm going in with my bone folder and I'm just applying pressure just on that center piece where I've just put the glue. And I'm putting glue on the bottom of the panel and gluing it to the middle of my platform. So now I'm just putting glue on the bottom of my platform. I've got my Santa gift card holder at the back, and I have my sleigh at this angle. So now I'm going to work on the little presents or the gifts that are going to go in Santa's sleigh. You just want to fold down on all the score lines. Because I've used foil cardstock for this, I'm going to use red line tape. I put red line tape that's on the tab that's on the side. I'm going to release the liner on my red line tape, I'm folding over the left side, then folding over the right side. I have my seam here at the bottom, so I'm going to lift up this tab and lift up this tab. I put red line tape on those, and then I'm folding in the tabs on either side. Then I'm folding in the tab that's at the bottom. I'm releasing the liner on the red line tape, and then I'm folding down that top tab like so. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other end. So I've got 10 of them. I'm going to fold all 10 of them the same way. So now I'm going to work on the roof pieces. I have 2 pieces of craft board, and I have horizontal score lines that run along both pieces. One of them has a little cutout for the chimney. In the original file, I only had one color of shingles. So I did it all in white. But for this one, I decided to do it in 2 colors. So my first row of shingles, I'm just going to put glue between the very first score line and the edge of my piece all along. I'm going to position my first row of shingles so that it's flush with the right hand side. The top of my piece is going to go right along that first score line. I'm going to put glue from the score line to the start of that white piece, and I can put a thin bead of glue just along the top of the white piece as well. And then I'm going to position my shingles so that the left hand side is flush with the left hand side of my panel, and the top of my brown piece is right against the score line. So I'm just going to repeat the same thing, alternating the colors and the placement of my shingles all the way to the top of my panel. So for the second panel, the one with the cutout, I'm going to keep repeating that pattern until I'm at that final complete score line before the cutout. The next series of pieces have cutouts in them to allow for the chimney. I'm going to start with the brown piece, and it just has a little cutout at the top. Glue that one in place. So the next piece is actually in 2 parts, and it has a little bit of that curve, and the next piece fits in just like so. Then I have my white piece with a little bridge at the top. The cutout for this one is right at the bottom of those center shingles, and then I have 2 full strips to finish off this piece. So then I have my chimney piece. I'm just folding down on all the score lines. So I'm putting glue on the tab that's on my left hand side, and then I'm folding my right hand side over. I'm inserting my chimney piece so that the longest side is towards the bottom of my roof like so. And then I'm flipping my piece over. I'm putting glue on that bottom tab, and I'm gluing it right against my panel like so. I'm putting glue on the tab at the top, folding that one back onto my roof piece. And so I'm going to put glue on both of those side tabs, and I'm pushing them flat. For both my shingle pieces, I'm going to flip my piece over, and I'm just cutting along the edge like so. And I'm doing that on both sides. And then I have the structure for my roof. I have 2 pieces, and I'm just folding down on all the score lines. I'm putting glue on that small tab, and I'm taking my other piece. I want the cut edge of my piece to be right along the score line of the tab, and I want these score lines to join up. And then I'm just going to put glue on this tab that's above. I want the cut edge of this triangular shape to go right along the score line of my tab. And I'm going to move on to the next tab over. So I'm just putting glue all over it, gluing that other side. And then I have the tab at the top of my peak. I'm just joining these 2 panels at the top at that tab. I'm going to flip my piece over. I'm putting glue on this tab, and then I'm gluing the cut edge right to the slope of my roof. And then I'm moving to the other side of that triangular shape. Then I have my second small tab. So that leaves me with these 4 flaps. So I'm going to put glue on all 4 of them and fold them inwards towards the interior of my roof. And I'm just going in there with my bone folder and spreading all that glue. I'm going to continue doing that with all 4 sides. So now I have those 2 windows that I had set aside earlier. So I've got one for one end and one for the other. Putting glue all over this panel. So I've got that scalloped edge downwards. Placing this panel right against the top, so the peak of my roof, and I want an even amount on the top and the bottom. And I'm going to put glue on the other side as well. And then I'm taking my second piece. My chimney is going upwards and my scallops are on the bottom. I'm gluing it to the top on the other side of my roof. And then I have this white rectangle with a score line down the center. I'm just folding down on that score line. So I'm just putting glue inside my V-fold and I'm placing my piece over that joint in my roof. I've placed my presents in my sled. I haven't glued them down, but what you can do is grab your hot glue and glue all of them into place. So for my last step, I have my Santa's Workshop sign. It's 2 pieces of foil craft board and some green vinyl. I'm going to use red line tape and I've just put it towards the top of my sign. And I'm going to make sure that there's approximately the same amount on both sides. And I'm going to make it overlap the bottom of my roof piece just a little bit. And that's my Santa's Workshop.